Hi, welcome to SCW, the wrestling channel here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave any comments in the comment section. Please like and share the video as well. Spread the word of SCW. Now, it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, but I wanted to give you my predictions for the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. A number of matches this Sunday evening, including 2 chamber matches, so a lot to get through. A little bit of a lackluster card, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, especially when you look at perhaps some of the more exciting rivalries are not featured on this pay-per-view, especially when you look as well, perhaps the biggest superstar right now within WWE, Becky Lynch, going through a suspension storyline, not even going to be featured on this particular card. Makes it seem perhaps a little bit less exciting, but we'll go through the matches anyway and see if you agree with me. Of course, you can always let me know your predictions in the comments section as well. So without further ado, going to start off with the Cruiserweight Championship matchup, Buddy Murphy against Akira Tozawa. I'm expecting this potentially could be on the kickoff of the card, and I think it could be a potential of being a very good match as well. I do enjoy the matches on the 205 Live brand. I particularly as well enjoy Buddy Murphy's work. I think he is quite literally what he says is the juggernaut. I think he's been perhaps the most exciting 205 Live wrestler to watch over the last 12 months as well. I expect him to retain the Cruiserweight Championship in this particular match. I expect this is just another stop on the road to WrestleMania, where I think if he's going to lose the belt, I imagine that would be the event he would do it at. So for me, Buddy Murphy will pick up the victory, but I do expect this could be quite an entertaining match to watch. Next, we're going to be looking at the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. The Miz and Shane McMahon defending against the Usos. For me, we all kind of have an idea where we think this is going to lead to a match at WrestleMania between the Miz and Shane McMahon. It's been building perhaps one of the few rivalries that has got a lot of time put into it in WWE, and I think has not been overplayed as well throughout the process. It seemed a bit of a strange move to give them the Tag Team Championships, but at the same time, I kind of feel that it's more of a stopgap. Before we get the breakup and then before we get to WrestleMania. So for me, on this particular match with the Usos, I still expect the champions to retain. They've not long held the belts. I don't think they've even wrestled since. So I expect on this particular occasion, Shane McMahon and The Miz to retain. My feeling is that they are probably going to lose the belts at Fastlane, whoever they come up against, and I think the breakup will either take place at the pay-per-view or the following SmackDown event. So despite the fact at the moment I think that we're going to play on this best tag team in the world storyline just a little bit further, and to beat a credible tag team like the Usos is just going to give that a little bit more of a leverage going into the storyline going forward. So I expect The Miz and Shane McMahon to retain the championships and continue forward. Next, going to be looking at another rivalry that seems it's gone on forever, but for the complete wrong reasons. It's Braun Strowman against Baron Corbin. This match for me really is a snore. It doesn't do anything for me at all. I feel that the rivalry between these two guys has been going on, and it has been since Crown Jewel, so that's the beginning of November last year, and we're mid-February now, and it's still going on. And it just, for me, doesn't feel creditable that Baron Corbin is ever going to come out at the end of this rivalry with the victory. So for me here, the things that can make this slightly more interesting, I expect that going forward we could perhaps have a Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre rivalry happening on, and although Drew doesn't need Baron Corbin, and I really don't like the idea of them teaming up, or with Lashley either, that seems to be where this sort of stemmed from with the Braun Strowman injury. I'm hoping that maybe we are going to get a payoff here from the Braun Strowman and Baron Corbin feud, where Braun Strowman picks up the victory and can move on to Drew McIntyre. We could expect that Drew McIntyre could be in the corner here of Baron Corbin, and we could even expect Kurt Angle to be in the corner of Braun Strowman. Time will tell on that, but it'll be interesting to see how it's going to play out. I will say Braun Strowman will pick up the victory, though, when it comes to this Sunday's pay-per-view. Next, good look at the Raw Women's Championship match. Ronda Rousey going to be defending against Ruby Riott. Again, it's another one of those. It's just a placeholder on the road to WrestleMania. For those that are worried that Becky Lynch is not going to be involved, I do think she's going to be involved. We've got nothing to worry about. The triple threat is still on here. Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. But of course, to get there, we need a few twists and turns, which is why I think the suspension storyline has been brought in for Becky Lynch. And as well as that, I think that this is why now Charlotte Flair has been inserted to keep things interesting as well going forward. Lynch is not going to be involved perhaps on TV for maybe the next week or two. Rumours have suggested as well that Becky Lynch will be competing at Fastlane against Charlotte. So we've got a couple of places to go to get there. At the moment, I think the interaction is needed now between Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. And Charlotte said she's going to be watching the match. I'm guessing either front row or perhaps at ringside, and perhaps we'll see an altercation after the match. But I expect Ronda Rousey, no problems here. She will retain the belts here, and yeah, she'll remain Raw Women's Champion. Next, we'll look at the first Elimination Chamber match, which will be for the Women's Tag Team Championships. I almost said first ever because that's what they're playing on, but we all know that there was Women's Tag Team Championships in the WWE or WWF then back in the late 1980s. You can even find on the WWE Network some matches including Women's Tag Team Championships. So this isn't a first ever, but it certainly is the first time in a long time, and I hope it's going to have some credibility going forward. We do know that Bayley and Sasha Banks are going to start on the Raw side, and we do know that on the SmackDown side, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville will start, all with Elimination Chamber experience, which I think is key for the first few minutes of this match to keep it held together, especially as well Sasha Banks is clear to go because she has had a few problems getting cleared, which is why she's not been so involved in matches, and Bayley's had to do pretty much all of the work. My feeling before that this week's Raw was that Bayley and Sasha Banks were going to be the first ever Women's Tag Team Champions, or of the modern era first ever. But now knowing they're starting the chamber match, it's certainly going to be interesting to see if they can hold on towards the end. It does make you wonder if we are going to get some other tag team champions. Of course, the other teams involved from the Raw side in the pods will be the Riott squad of Liv Morgan and Sarah Morgan. We've got Nia Jax and Tamina. And on the SmackDown side, we've got the Iconics, which of course is Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. And we've got Naomi and Carmella. Now, every couple of minutes another team is going to come out of the pod. Usually in the old terms it was normally 5 minutes. I think these days they've knocked it down to probably 3 or 4 minutes, so we'll see how it goes. And with 12 people involved in this chamber match as well at the same time, it makes me feel like that we're not going to get all the teams in there at the same time at the end. I think there's going to be eliminations going on as we go along throughout this match to not make the ring too crowded. So looking at it from a perspective, I imagine that maybe the next team that might come in, if we were to go in a potential guessing order, I think the Riott squad would be a good addition to be third in the match. I think the Iconics would be good to come in fourth. I would put then a face team of Naomi and Carmella, and last but not least, give the most heat to Nia Jax and Tamina, put them into the chamber last. Now, I don't think the Iconics are going to last too long in the match. I think they'll be eliminated quite quickly. Looking elsewhere in there, I think Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville will be early eliminations. Same as well with Naomi and Carmella. I think they're kind of used in this match to perhaps put over Nia Jax and Tamina later in the chamber. So it comes down to those last couple of teams and which ones will come away with the belts first off. I have done the last two teams to be, in my head, Bayley and Sasha Banks and Nia Jax and Tamina. I am going to stick with my original prediction of what I thought a long time ago, which is I think Bayley and Sasha Banks will walk away the first ever Women's Tag Team Champions. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was Nia Jax and Tamina, because then you could build for the faces to chase this at WrestleMania, so that would kind of keep that going. But then at the same time, I think that for first Women's Tag Team Champions in this modern era, it is important to give this to a credible team, something that's believable, which I suppose both teams would be believable, but I think it needs to be something that will make the fans invested from the start and popular, and that makes me feel that Bayley and Sasha Banks would be better choices. They've been buried quite badly, really, when you look at the singles divisions, and they've completely lost themselves in the shuffle. For me now, I kind of feel that it would be better if they would be given a more prominent role as the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. Next, going to be looking at Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush, going to be against Finn Balor, and this is for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. It's going to be interesting with the handicap element. They kind of make it feel like that this is a benefit for Finn Balor, and also Finn Balor picked up a victory on Raw over Lashley this week in a 6-man tag. So this makes me feel instantly that Lashley is going to find a way to retain here. Remember, it's 2-on-1, and although you could say, well, Finn Balor only has to beat Lio Rush and can become the Intercontinental Champion, I think this will prove to be a hindrance in the end, and I think Lashley is going to escape with the belt for at least a few weeks longer. I do think eventually Finn Balor will be Intercontinental Champion, whether it be going into Fastlane or winning at WrestleMania, but at this particular moment, at this particular time, I can only see a Bobby Lashley victory and retaining the IC title. Last but certainly not least, going to be looking at the WWE Championship, which is going to be contested inside Elimination Chamber. The Planet's champion, Daniel Bryan, with a lovely gimmick. I'm loving this vegan gimmick he's doing right now. It's current, it's relevant, and I think it works as well, and he plays it perfectly as a heel as well. This is something I think has been crying out in WWE. There's not enough character, so this character for me really does work. And with the this eco-friendly championship as well. I had a bit of mixed feelings when it first came about, but now I really seem to like the idea that's been put in place. And I do think as well it leads to a lengthy champion as well. So I'm going to say before we even go further into this, I think Daniel Bryan will retain here. I think that that's probably a given for a lot of people's predictions, and I'm going to stick with that as well. But the other people participating is Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Kofi Kingston, who replaced Mustafa Ali, who was originally set for the lineup. A few niggling injuries, including what was a nasty black eye last week on SmackDown Live. He's been pulled for the match. I believe he wanted to go still, but I think WWE is not taking the risk, which makes you also believe Ali will probably get a chance on the road to WrestleMania at some point still anyway. But it'll be interesting to see how and when they would do that. For me, I would keep that on just an episode of SmackDown Live. I don't see it credible to all enough Mustafa Ali going for the WWE Championship, especially when he was on 205 Live just a matter of a couple of months ago. But looking at the match, we know Randy Orton is going to be last out of the pod, so makes you wonder who is going to come where into the match. I'm going to guess that AJ Styles and Samoa Joe are going to kick this match off. I think that they are two people that could got good chemistry. They know each other pretty well, and I think that it would be quite a good way to have that going in the chamber to begin with. Looking at who would go following in, I think that Jeff Hardy is a likely candidate to go in, perhaps maybe third or fourth. Kofi Kingston as well. I think you're going to look at the likes of Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton to be the last two out of the pod. I don't see Daniel Bryan doing so many dangerous spots in this chamber, given his history either. So I think they're going to want to try and limit his time in the match. So I think that this is going to be quite face heavy to start the match, and we're probably going to get more of the high-flying spots from these guys. And later on in the match, we'll see the heels come in and probably pick off the faces as we see perhaps maybe a surprising finish. I reckon AJ Styles is probably going to go the distance in this to lose to Daniel Bryan at the end. Maybe even being cost. Maybe he eliminates Randy Orton, and then Randy Orton gives him an RKO afterwards. And that will perhaps stem between them two starting their rivalry up on the road to WrestleMania. But as I said, I think Daniel Bryan is going to win. Perhaps AJ Styles runner-up, maybe Randy Orton third. But I do think it's got potential here. There's a lot of good workers in this chamber match. I think it could be exciting, even if slightly predictable. So that's my predictions there for the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Did you agree? Let me know in the comments below right now. If you did like the video, please hit the thumbs up button, and I do appreciate a subscribe as well. You can keep up to date. I will try and do a few more videos going forward. But thank you very much for watching anyway. This has been the WWE Elimination Chamber preview and predictions video. Enjoy the pay-per-view on Sunday, and I will see you guys next time.